Welcome to Market Recap Live. I am your host, Joseph Martin, and thank God it's Thursday. Tonight, we are taking a look at ticker INTC. You might know them better as Intel. Intel Corporation was founded in 1968 by Gordon Moore and Robert Noyce, with the first office opening in Mountain View, California. Now, they're publicly traded on the NASDAQ and have a market value over $300 billion. Intel is in the semiconductors and semiconductor equipment industry in the information technology sector, and they are listed in the S&P 500 index. Some of Intel's corporation's competitors are Advanced Micro Devices, ticker AMD, NVIDIA, ticker NVDA, and Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, ticker TSM. We're going to review Intel Corporation's earnings, their website, and visit the charts to perform a quick technical analysis. But before we do that, let's do our roll call and check our stream poll. We are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. Let's get this chat going and tell us where you're tuning in from. Put a YT in the chat if you're tuning in from YouTube, and put an FB in the chat if you're tuning in from Facebook. While you guys are filling up the stream and the chat, here's the mission statement. We are building a community over here for people who want to take control of their financial situation by learning how to unlock the wealth building power of the stock market. And we are streaming Monday through Friday following trading sessions at 11 p.m. Eastern time. The U.S. stock market regular trading hours are 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time. And there's a link for the New York Stock Exchange calendar down in the description. Okay, let's get to it. Let's get to these earnings highlights for Intel. There we go. Boy, we getting smoother. Intel Corporation, ticker symbol INTC, the $335.3 billion company reported its first quarter earnings today. They have a 52-week high of $70.33, which took place on April 17th, and a 52-week low of $18.97 that occurred August 1st, which is a trading range of $51.36, and they closed today at $66.78. Intel Corporation's earnings report beat on the top line, reporting revenue of $13.60 billion, which was higher than the market expectations of $12.33 billion, and beat on the bottom line as AI-driven demand strengthened their server business and foundry revenues accelerated. EPS was higher than the analyst and market expectations of 1 cent when they reported an adjusted EPS of 29 cents. Intel Corporation reported a GAAP net loss of $3.7 billion, which was a significantly larger loss than the $800 million net loss they reported this same quarter last year. So for the first fiscal quarter of 2025, their net loss was much smaller compared to now a year later. The earnings were released after the market closed, followed by a 5 p.m. Eastern Time conference call. As far as guidance, management provided strong second quarter revenue guidance of up to $14.8 billion and noted that 2026 capital expenditures will remain flat year over year. That 52-week high compared to today's closing price of $66.78 represents a decline of 5% over a span of about a week. So if someone invested $1,000 in April on 17th at that 52-week high of $70.33, they will be seeing a loss of $50.48. All right. Let's talk about why we visit these company websites. We're looking at the visuals and text to find answers to these key questions. What goods and or services does the company sell? How important are those goods and services to their customers? What makes this company stand out from the competition? And how well do they take care of their employees? To find those answers, we browse 4 key areas: the homepage for goods and or services, about us for purpose, vision, and mission statements, careers for employee benefits and opportunities, and investor relations for SEC filings and stock quotes. And for your convenience, all companies featured in tonight's live stream are down in the description. Now let's go back to Intel Corporation's website. Let's go there. Let's check them out. So first I'm gonna blow this up. And I'm gonna bring you over. I'm gonna talk through it because I don't want any dead air on the live stream. So here we go. And we can take the ticker off. We don't need that right now. So here we are. We are on Intel's website. Let me zoom in. We're gonna get it to the 150. It looked like it barely moved, didn't it? But we there. All right, so we're on Intel's website. Oh, look at that. I'm scrolling down and it's flipping around. It's just flipping. So we know that their goods and services are chips, microchips, processors, and things in the information technology sector. I don't know why this isn't showing any pictures. I don't know why that's not showing anything. Let's go to products and see if we can get some more visuals about what they do. So they have processors, which I know about, Ethernet products, game system, what is it saying? Gaming systems, different software. So that's their good and services. Intel Data Center GPU Flex Series. So this is AI accelerators. Let me see if we can get some visuals. So their processors, depending on the speed you get, will help with gaming, because gaming computers, depending on what games you're playing, require a lot of speed and processing. I do know that. All right, well, product specification, resources. It's a lot of reading. Remember, the links are down in the description for your convenience. See all Intel partners. So I guess these are other brands that they work with. I don't know where it just took us. So let's get out of here and go back where we were. Yes, let's go back. All right, let's go to careers. Let's find the careers so we can find the benefits for the employees. Here's careers. And I'm browsing to see if I can see, yep. So there's the investors information, company overview. Let's go to company overview. We got the goods and services on the homepage. There it is. I like the fact that they had this really clear, because sometimes we go to these websites, they don't have it as clear as this. So we know what their purpose is right here. Here's the purpose. Create world-changing technology that improves the life of every person on the planet. And remember, the links for the websites featured in tonight's show are down in the description. And now when we go over here, they have a little bit more visuals. It's still a short page. So life at Intel. So we talk about working at Intel right here. Learn more. Our approach, life at Intel. Oh, it's just a different section of the same page. All right, so let's go over to the career section. Let me see if that's still at the bottom. Yep, right here. So let's go over to careers and see what we can find as far as the opportunities and benefits. So they talk about why Intel, culture of support, abundant opportunities. That's great. Work you can be proud of. I'm gonna click why Intel after I scroll. So they have some videos here for some visuals, inclusive, welcoming environment. Join us, our voices. Stay up to date with the latest employee features from around the world. Don't see anything that jumps out at me about benefits. So let's click why Intel. Oh, it's just a different section of the same page like it did the other time. Let's see if Join Us does the same thing. Yes. All right. Let me click show more. See, just more pictures and locations. Okay. So yeah, don't see anything about benefits that jump out at me, at least something quick. Remember, links are in the description for you to dig through this website, because I don't see anything that's standing out to me for me to be able to find it. All right, let's go to investors. We did careers, we did about us, go to investors. And here is the stock information that they offer on their website. And it looks like they zoomed us out. So let's try to zoom back in. There's 150. All right, here's some stock information right here. I'm looking for the stock quote and charts if they offer it on their website. So let's go back to the top right here where it says stock info. So quote, charts, and they have some other tools right here. And it looks like Intel does pay dividends. So let's go to quote. So here's the stock quote right here that they offer on the website. And here is the chart that they offer on their website. All right, let's go back over here, main, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about this. Before we look at the charts, remember, professionals trade from a computer, not a mobile device. Mobile trading apps are limited. Traders lose critical detail and advanced platform features on a mobile screen. So be advised, trading from a phone is usually the least effective way for managing assets. To see every detail, use a full trading platform and watch these streams on a computer or TV. Only use a phone as a last resort. Now let's look at the charts for ticker INTC, Intel. Let's go over here. This is not the company I want to have pulled up, and that ain't the right camera. So let's go here. INTC, Intel. We'll go over to the charts, disclaimer. There we are. Okay, I got them pulled up. Don't have the ticker pulled up. Give me a second. There's the ticker. All right. So if people jump into the stream, they know what we're looking at. I'm gonna go into settings and I'm gonna pull this chart over. So I'm going to the time axis. I'm gonna change this to 50. Click apply. So what this does, it just brings the candles over to further to the right so we can use some more of this screen space. So let me take me off the screen so I can show you the 52-week low. So we are looking at a 1-year daily chart. Here's the 52-week low, which took place on August 1st of 2025, that 1897. And here is the 52-week high that took place on April 17th. And that high was 70.33, which we talked about earlier. Now we're going to draw some technicals. We're going to do some technical analysis on this chart. I can put me back on the screen because I am not blocking where we're going to be working at. So I'm going to say this is a support and resistance zone right about here. This is what I'm seeing. I see this area right here as a support and resistance zone. Right about there. So it's not that bad as far as like being wide, but that's the support and resistance zone that I'm seeing as far as technical analysis in this area here. And I'm going to say this is kind of weird. I'm going to put another support and resistance zone right here. Because this is kind of like in the middle of nowhere. That's like by itself. Like there's nothing else besides these two candles right here. So that's why I'm not drawing this as support and resistance. And then there's a gap over here as well. So if we go to this is a 10-year weekly chart. So we can see that they did have highs near this zone in 2020 and in 2021. So from here to the left is 2021, and from here to here is 2020. So you have, I'm gonna put a zone. First, I'm gonna zoom in. So let me zoom in so we can see this a little better. And I'm going to draw a zone of resistance using this. And then I'm going to mouse over it, and I'm looking for the high on this weekly candle. So the high was 69.29. I'm going to go into edit properties, 69.29. So now we know that zone is at the high of this weekly candle right here. And I'm going to zoom out. We want to extend this all the way over to the right. So how we do that, we go back to edit properties for that zone and the furthest out date. So it's this one right here. So we open that up. We go over to 2026 and we can take it out to, we can go all the way to the end of the year. So we go to December 31st. Okay. And there you go. So it extended all the way over. So now when we go back down to the daily chart, we can see how that zone we drew by using the weekly chart extended all the way over to our daily chart to now. So we can see that it's reaching resistance that occurred in 2020 and 2021. That's why it's important to look at different time frames when you're using historical data to do technical analysis. That's what I look at. That's why it's important to look at the historical data on the larger time frames. And that's why me personally, I don't like day trading, because the amount of activity that has to happen in a minute is it doesn't mean as much as something that happened in a week. There's way more trading activity in a week than it is in a minute. So that's why I like larger time frames. They tell more of a story that means something more than just what happens in 1 minute. So yes, that's what I'm seeing right now. And with the price being below this area of resistance, it's still trading above the 9-day simple moving average and the 200-day simple moving average. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And then with earnings today, we definitely want to look and see what the volume was doing. So let me put the volume labels back on the chart. So here we are with the volume. Drag this back over. And let's do the stock quote, and then we'll talk about the volume. So let me cut my floating data box back on. It's getting warm, man. I'm about to cut my little fan on. About to cut my little fan on. You're like, where'd he go? Cut my fan on. I hope this ain't getting in the... No, it's not in the mic too bad. All right. So the stock quote for today for Intel, they opened at $66.10. They had a high of $68.28. They had a low of $65.42, and they closed today at $66.78, which was a trading range of $2.86. And when we look at the volume, wow, they traded 155 million shares of their stock today. So we need to see what they normally do. Like, what's the average volume for Intel? Oh, wow. All right. So I'm going to cut the floating data box off. I'm going to take me off the screen so you can read the rest of the labels because I'm blocking it. So right over here, they have an average trading volume of 101 million shares a day. So they do this type of numbers all of the time. This is 55 million shares higher than average, but their average is 100 million shares traded in a session. So on Wednesday, yesterday, they had 90 million shares traded, which was lower than the average. But today they have 55 million shares traded more than their average. Well, 54 incorporating that one. So let's look at the volume rank percentile. Put me back on the screen. So when we look at the volume rank percentile label, it was 87.3%, and I'll explain what that is. So out of the most recent 252 trading days, only 32 days had higher volume than today. So this followed what I usually see around earnings time, especially on earnings. So on earnings, you usually see increased volume of trading on the day earnings are released. So this holds true to what I usually see. So that's our quick technical analysis for Intel. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's go back here. Let's go back here. And we can talk about this. Back to the community. I would appreciate it very much if you guys share the stream, hit the like button, subscribe. And if you wish to send a monetary gift to support the content, Cash App and PayPal links are down in the description as well as on the ticker on the screen. So let's take a look at what the S&P 500 index did today by using the SPY ETF. This ETF gives investors an opportunity to participate in the broader U.S. market by allowing them to own a percentage of each company in the S&P 500 index. Let me put this back over here. I don't even know where that is. Let's not worry about that right now. Yeah, let's not worry about that. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. No, I want to put this back. I don't know. I don't remember what the button was. So I'm about to put all of this back before I forget. There's the like button. And now we can go over here and go back to the charts. All right. So we're about to look at the SPY so we can change this label right now. We have a disclaimer on. Okay. So over here in the symbol box, SPY, we are looking at the SPY, and we took off some of these levels that we had. And here is today's, we're looking at a 1 year daily chart with the SPY. And here's the candle for today right here. So, wow, I'm gonna zoom in even more. No, it looked crazy when I do that. I want to stretch it a little bit. And zoom in. I just don't like the way it had made it look so. That's better. Okay. So what I wanted to focus on while I'm zooming in, I want you to see how this candle, the low, the wick came down and it tested the 9-day simple moving average. And it tested that support that we drew on a chart at $702.78. And when it came down to that area of support, it recovered during the trading session. So the close is the bottom of the body of this candle, this box looking area. The bottom of that box is the close. The top of that box is the open. And the high is the top of the wick and the low is the bottom of the wick. Just in case you don't know how to read a candle, that's what we're looking at. So this one candle did two things. It tested the resistance in the trading session that we drew on the chart, and it came down and it tested the resistance price level and the 9-day simple moving average. It did all of that in one trading session. So this looks like what they would call indecision. They would call this indecision because this don't know if it want to go up or down because of the way it moved in the range. And if it opened here and closed here, it didn't close too far from where it opened. It's a lot of indecision. So what we need to look at here is the volume. And there's no other supports and resistance for us to draw because we look at this every day anyway. So let's go ahead and get the ETF quote for this. So let me cut my floating data box on and we're going to read the numbers of what it did today. So the SPY opened today at $709.50. They had a high of $712.36. And they had a low of $702.28. And they closed today at $708.45. So this is what I was talking about, how the open and the close were close to one another. So when we're looking at those numbers, I'm going to take the cents off. We're just going to look at the dollar amount. So it opened at $709 and it closed at $708. So there was only a dollar difference if we just round it off to the nearest dollar. Well, the other one was $7. I'm taking off the cents. We just looking at the dollars. So the trading range was $10.08. I hope I said that. So now let's look at the volume. So the volume for today was 56 million shares of this ETF was traded today. And if we go over and we look at the average volume, let me take me off the screen so you can see this label. And I'm going to take the floating data box off because that's distracting. The average trading volume for this ETF is 76 million shares in a trading session. So I believe when we looked at it, it said it was 56. So right here is today. So I'll show you what these labels mean. So today, if we wanted to just see the volume without using the floating data box, there's a couple places we can look. We can look right here where it says volume, but it's going to change every time this crosshair crosses one of these candles. So I would have to go over here and then you have to look where I showed you. And you can see it matches that yellow label I showed you, the number right above it, 56,173,990. But it rounded it up in the top number to 991. And then the previous volume, so yesterday's volume on Wednesday was 42 million. So they had lower volume yesterday. So the volume is increasing, but it's still lower than average. That's what we're seeing on the volume. Now, when we look at the volume rank percentile, let me put me back on the screen. It was only 11.5%. So that means out of the most recent 252 trading days, only 29, wait a minute, right. I'm so used to us looking at the higher volume. I didn't realize this is the lowest. So we're looking at the days below. That's what DB means. So days above is DA and DB is days below. So only 29 days had lower volume than today. So it's an inverse of what we look at when we're looking at above average volume. That's why I got confused. But that's what we're looking at. So they had incredibly low volume compared to what they usually have on average and compared to the other days out of the most recent 252 trading days. All right, we moving kind of smooth. And you know what? As much as I be messing up with the Stream Deck, now that the Stream Deck and I got that down and it's running smooth, we going through tonight's session really quick because we moving on to the next thing. So we can go back to the main screen. We can go back to the main screen. Let's talk about it. Now, let's take a look at today's winners and losers. First, we're going to take a look at the losers so we can end the night on a high note. So let's go back over here to the chart. And we can take off the SPY because we're done with the SPY. And we're going to go over here to Market Watch. So this is where we're going to pull our watch list up at. And we're going to look at the biggest loser. So ticker NOW. Let's go ahead and put them on the screen. There's their ticker. And that's the company name. So they lost 17.75%. So their previous close was $103.07. That's what they closed at on Wednesday. And today they closed at $84.78. So usually when we pull up the calculator to give a hypothetical example of how much money someone invests, I usually use $1,000, but some people might not have $1,000. So I'm gonna start using random numbers and you just need to pay attention to where the formula is. So the first number I'm using is hypothetically whatever that person chose to invest. So let's say somebody chose to invest $100. If they chose to invest $100 and they had the 17.75% loss, they're basically going to lose $17.75. And here's what that would look like. We would multiply this, the $100, times that number. So 17.75. But then we need to hit the percentage. So it'll change it to a percentage in decimal form. So it's going to move the decimal. If you caught that, it moved it 2 places over to the left. Now, when we hit equal, it's going to show you how much money that is of the $100. But since the person lost that, we need to make it a negative. So you negate it. Now, when you add the initial investment money back to it, remember that person invested $100, you add that back to this negated number and it will subtract it from the $100. So I'm walking you through how I did that formula. So that person would have $82.25 left from their $100 investment. Now, the money they started with is called principal. That's the financial term for it. It's called principal. But they lost $17.75 of their initial investment principal. They don't have a ROI. So the ROI is the return on investment. They don't have a return on investment yet because it's negative, because they lost money. They lost some of their principal. So if they had a gain, which we'll talk about, I'll do this again when we look at the biggest winner. So I just wanted to slow this part down because I realized some people was getting lost when I was using these formulas. So I wanted to break that down a little bit more. So now we have this company selected. We are going to take this calculator off the screen and go over to the Analyze tab. And the Analyze tab pulls up some more details about the company and we'll walk through it. So ticker NOW, and they are in the information technology sector. And since we're doing well on time, I'm going to show you another tool that I like to use. So if we go over to Market Watch, we're going to go back over to Market Watch. I'm going to take me off the screen so you can see this. I'm going to go over here to watch lists. That's going to be right here. Drop this down. And I have a personal watch list that I created called Temp. Now, if you don't know how to do that or you don't have this platform, it's not going to help you. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So we go over here. And click Create Watch List. Okay. And then we can click Delete Watch List, right? So you saw where I clicked this area right here. We click that. It says show scan query menu. Click that, come down to delete. Now I'm going to delete it because I already have it, and it's called temp. So I'm gonna delete that. It's gonna ask me, and then I say yes. So I'm gonna show you how you create one from scratch. I'm gonna go back over here to the watch list, and you'll see that it's gone. So I click that drop down, I go to personal, and see temp is no longer there. So we need to create a watch list. So we go back over here on this side of the screen, go down, create watch list. And here's where I'm gonna type back in temp, T-E-T-M-P. And that's just short for temporary. Now in the symbol box, I'm gonna type in the ticker that I wanna look up. So I wanna look up now, ticker now, N-O-W. When I click enter, that's that company. So now that's in my watch list. You can just add it. You can add as, I don't know if it's a limit, but you just would keep adding the companies, the tickers that you want to add to this watch list. And there's other tools here that's kind of self-explanatory, et cetera, et cetera. But then I click save. So now once I click save, it pulls the watch list up that I created. And there's the name of it in the watch list section, et cetera, et cetera. So now I come over to visualize. And this is the sub tab under the market watch tab. So this is a heat map that we have pulled up. Now these heat maps that we have pulled up, let me put me back on the screen. These heat maps can be pulled up based off the watch list that you have selected over here. So this is the S&P 500 watch list. It's the S&P 500 index watch list. So this is all of the companies inside the S&P 500 showing up as a heat map. So if we go down to personal, this is all of the companies that I have in my watch list that I created, my personal watch list. So when I hit the drop down, I'm going to go down to temp. Now remember, I only put one company in there. So that's why it takes up the whole visualize section. Now when I click the down arrow, let me take me off the screen so you can see it. It's going to do a drop down. So this company, the label is right here. It's in the information technology sector. Now when I click the drop down, it's in the software industry. Then I click the drop down again. It's in the systems software sub industry. So sector, industry, sub industry. And this gives us more details about where that company does its business. Like what area does it focus on when it comes to their goods and services? That's what we're looking at. So let's go back over to analyze. I'm already off the screen, so I'm not blocking this. The company's name is ServiceNow Incorporated. Here's their website. The link for their website is also down in the description for your convenience. And right here, I'm going to read a little bit of this description. So ServiceNow Incorporated provides cloud-based solution for digital workflows in the North America, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, Asia Pacific, and internationally. So I'm going to stop there and we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at their website. So here we go, pull them up. Here's their website. We can take this disclaimer off. We don't need it now, and we can put me back on the screen. I like talking my way through it because it makes it easier for me to know where I'm at when we're doing this. Okay, so here is ServiceNow's website. And we know that they are in the software industry. So the world works with ServiceNow. I believe this is some of their customers. So they have Rolls-Royce as a customer, FedEx, Adobe, Visa. They work with 85% of the Fortune 500 companies. I believe that's what that means. They have a 98% renewal rate. I sound like Elmer Fudd. Renewal rate. So that's what I'm seeing there. And I guess that's an example of what the dashboard looks like. What does this say? Delivering autonomous workflows across every corner. Okay. I like their website. It looks stylish. I like their website. They definitely, in my opinion, this is a good look for a software company. I mean, that would be suspicious to me if you were a software company and your website sucked. So I'm liking that. All right, now we're down at the bottom of the screen. Let's minimize this. This thing's just in the way. And this is blocking some of the stuff at the bottom, and I'm blocking it too, but there's nothing really over there for us to see. It's kind of above us. So we need to see, okay, here's the company section. So we're going to go to about, we're going to go to careers, and investors is all up under company. So I see all of that already. So let's go over here to about. Now this opened up a whole nother window. That's why you can't see it. So let me bring this over so you can see it. Here's the window that opened up. So let me zoom in, blow it up, and then we're going to zoom in. Oh, it was already zoomed in. Well, that's good. It held the 150. All right, I'm looking for the purpose. I'm looking for purpose. I'm looking for vision. I'm looking for mission statements. Remember, the links for the websites featured in tonight's live stream are down in the description if you want to dig through this website and look for yourself. I'm just browsing to see what jumps out at me. So here's values. Our values guide us to always do the right thing and our ambition to be the defining enterprise software company of the 21st century. I was blocking it. You couldn't see it. This was what I was looking at there. Okay. They got investors relations here, blah, blah, blah. Their commitments. So that's what they're committed to. And complexity, our customers. So they talk about our platform, how we work, resources. Oh, it's just taking you to different sections of the website. I mean, of this page. It's taking you to different sections of this page like the other one did. So that's not even taking us nowhere. Okay. So we can look at their different products. But we're done with that. That's the goods and services. So let's go over to careers. Here we are. Let's see if this is going to take us to a whole nother page. Yes, great. Took us to another page within the window we already have open. Thank goodness. So why join ServiceNow? We put people first. Idris Elba. I probably butchered his name too. Elba. Here's some awards and some companies that here's some awards that they've won. And I don't know if you watched the other live stream, but on the other live stream, they would show the awards that the company had won, but they were using a generic icon. It all looked the same. So this is an example of how they're showing the icons or the emblems or logos of the actual awards they won. So I like when companies do that, or at least it looks different. So our story, they went public in 2012. They have a lot of information about their company. I do like the fact that they do that. So they joined the S&P 500. They hit their 1 billion revenue in 2015. And we're in the career section and they talking about that. We supposed to be looking for benefits. So this is where you search for all the jobs they have. So this is jobs. So it's the tabs at the top. So that's the job. Where's benefits? Early careers. How we hire. I like when companies tell you that. So if you apply for the job, you know what you have to go through in their process before you actually have to go through it. So I do like that. Locations, teams, life at ServiceNow, job. Let's go to life at ServiceNow. Life at ServiceNow. When, while, our purpose and values. Okay. And this is what I talked about too. So usually we look for the mission statement, purpose, and values on the about us or the companies section. But if you can't find it there, it's usually going to be in the career section. And that's what we're seeing here. Here are the benefits, found them. Okay, learn more. We'll talk more about the benefits, or at least see more. Welcome to my benefits service now. Oh, they only show the benefits to employees. That's what it looked like. Wow, that sucks. This is the first time I've seen this on a website where they make you sign in as an employee to be able to see. That say learn more. Anywho, all right, let's move on to investors relations. Don't see it at the bottom, so let's go up to the top, and this is not zoomed in the full. Earning, knowledge, products, industries, jobs, company. I don't see it. There it is, investors. So here we are, investors relations. Did they zoom us out? Let's check. Yes, they did. So here we are at 150. This zoomed us out as well. So zoom that back in, so we're good over there. Investors relations. So they trade on the New York Stock Exchange ticker. Now we already know that. Here's the stock information. Here was the volume for today. Is that the volume that we seen? I'm not sure. Now let's look for the stock quote and the chart that they have available on their website. So it will be under, or should be under stock info right here. So let's click there. Can't click on that stock quote. So here's the stock data, stock quote area right here. And here's the stock chart that they offer. And here are some more investment tools. Remember, the links for the website are down in the description. Let's go over to the Think or Swim platform. Put the disclaimer back on the screen. All right. See that stream that coming in handy, boy. Go back to the charts. Ooh, I know it's a lot of different lines going on. I'll be all day trying to explain all these different lines to you. I wish I could. I know what they are, but I'm saying, like, I wish it was a way for me to make this make sense to you where we would be talking about this all night. So we're just going to try to make it simple and cover a few things about this technical analysis. So here's the 52-week high. And I'm going to cut the floating data box on. So when I mouse over that candle, you can read the date in that box. So the date was July 3rd, 2025. That's when they had the 52-week high. The 52-week high. And you can see it in the box where it says high, $211.48, $211.48. And you can match that with the high. So you know you're on the right day. So that's the day that happened. And then you had a 52-week low. Now, the 52-week low was a lot more recent. So that happened on April 10th. And that low was $81.24. And then they look like they recovered a little bit over the last few days. So let me take the floating data box off. I'm going to use a different tool. So I'm going to use this tool right here. It's called the trend line. So I'm going to connect it to the bottom of this candle on that 52-week low and connect it to the top of the highest day afterwards. So the highest day was this one, not the green one, but the red one. So how many days? That's 10 days. So over a course of 10 trading days, it gained 28.63% from that 52-week low. And that day, that red candle was Tuesday, I believe. So let me zoom in because this looks really small, especially if you're using your phone. This is the candle I'm looking at. So the date is on the bottom of the screen. So it's April 21st. Let me put the floating data box back on to make it easy for you. I ain't gonna have it come right there. So now you can see the date at the top of that floating data box, April 21st, 2026. That was the most recent high from that 52-week low. It wasn't the green candle. It was this red one. And it looks like it was really respecting that area of resistance that we put on the chart. This price level right here, price level 5, $100.51. We had used this area right here to determine support and resistance. And as we can see, this candle right here respected it, this candle respected it, and this candle did close above it, but this was Wednesday. So today it gapped down, and they had earnings on the 22nd. So they had earnings yesterday. They had earnings on Wednesday and they held. But let's see if the earnings were announced after market. Yeah, the earnings were announced after the market closed. So that explains why, or gives an indication. Sometimes you have to look at it like that. Like if the news, and I don't know if, I got a lot going through my head at once. Even if a company gives good earnings, the stock can still go down. A company can give bad earnings and the stock can go up. It's like people always need a story. It's a whole bunch of different factors that could cause a stock to go up or go down. It could be something as simple as the investors, the institutions with the big dollars, have been in the position for a while. They know that they have increased volume around earnings and they're looking to take their money out of that investment and move it somewhere else. So it didn't really matter if the investment, the earnings were good or bad. They just have a better opportunity somewhere else in the market they want to put that money into. So that could cause a change in price direction with people getting in or out, as far as like institutions and price dropping, gapping down or gapping up. So from Wednesday to today, the price gap down. They also call this a window. So from this low to this high would be a gap. So there's no normal trading session activity in this area as far as right now. And it came back down near the 52-week low today. So it gapped down below the 9-day simple moving average, and it's definitely trading below the 200-day simple moving average. So if we're looking to put some technicals on this chart, it would be this previous low, which would be that 52-week low of $81.24. That would be the closest area of support that I would be looking for on the chart in my analysis. That's what I would be looking at. And they definitely had significant volume today, but let's talk about the stock quote and then we'll get to the volume. So I'll put the floating data box back on the screen and let's talk about the stock quote for today. So ticker now, ServiceNow opened at $87.25. They had a high of $90.02. They had a low of $83.58. And they closed today at $84.78, which was a trading range of $6.44. Now, when we look at the volume, they traded 84 million shares of their stock today. And we need to go over to our labels and see what they usually get on average. So if I take me off the screen and this floating data box, so it won't drive us crazy, they usually trade about 11 million shares in a trading session. And they've done 8 times that. Because today they traded 84 million shares. So that's significantly higher than what they usually get on average. And on Wednesday, they traded 35 million shares in the trading session on Wednesday. So now when we go to the volume rank percentile, this tells us just how significant this is. How far above average was this? Here's the idea. So now you can get a better picture of this, about how this works. Like, does that really tell us anything different from average? Absolutely, because it's telling us that out of the most recent 252 trading days, no days that were above average had higher volume than today. That's the story it's telling you. This is the highest volume out of the most recent 252 trading days. So they definitely had significant volume. So what I'm looking at that stands out to me, even though the stock gapped down and they had that much volume, the price didn't follow through to the downside. That stands out to me, because if you had that many people interested in selling to get out, and you had that much volume, if somebody was selling, that means somebody was buying. So somebody was buying all them shares while somebody was selling the mess out of them. And it weren't selling to the point where it was buyers catching it, where the price wasn't falling. It wasn't falling significantly with all of that buying pressure. It was enough with all of that selling pressure. It was enough buyers to keep the price from falling. I hope that makes sense. Because if somebody's selling, somebody's buying. So that's why I used to get confused when I first started trading, because people would say stuff like, there were more sellers today, or there were more buyers today. That's not true. Because if somebody was selling, that means somebody bought it. If nobody bought it, you couldn't sell it. So it's the same amount. Whenever a trade happened, that was a seller and a buyer at the same time. You can't have more buyers than sellers. So what you really have is motivated buyers and motivated sellers. So what happens when you have a motivated seller is that they're trying to get whatever they can get for it. So if somebody offers $100 for it, they're selling it to them for $100. They're not saying, well, give me $101 for it. They're desperate to get rid of it. So they're selling on the bid. Whatever somebody's offering to buy it for, they give it to them. And if you're buying, you usually want to buy it for less. So if everybody kept selling on the bid, the price would go down and down and down and down and down and down and down. But if people start buying for what the seller's asking for, the price would go up and up and up and up and up, because they giving the seller whatever they're asking for. So the person offering to buy say, I only want to give you $100. And the seller saying, I want 101. If you don't give me 101, I'm not selling it to you. So then the buyer gives in and say, okay, I'll give you $101. Now the stock goes up $1. So that's why that's significant. It doesn't look like people were selling on the bid, even though they had that volume like that. It was some buyers coming in, buying those shares up, even though that candle was red and it gapped down. That's what I'm seeing from from those technicals. All right. So we talked about this one for real. Let's move on to the winner. Let's go back over here to the Market Watch tab, and we could take off the loser because we done with them. And let's go over to Analyze. I was talking so much, my mouth dry. Let me give me some water. Man, I was talking away. All right. Market Watch quotes. We need to get this back on the S&P 500 watch list. I'll show you how we do it. So we click this, drop it down, public, S through W, S&P 500. Can you see it? Yes, you can. That's where we are. Now, market recap. Yes, this is the biggest loser. Here's the biggest winner. So the biggest winner for today is ticker URI. So let's get them on the screen. Yeah, United Rentals Incorporated. So they went up 22.92%. So let's go with the calculator so we can do that again. I'll walk you through that formula again. Let's use a different number. Let's say somebody invested $150. So if somebody invested $150 and they got that 22.92% gain, their initial investment would be the principal they put in, right? So that's the 150. Then we multiply this times 22.92, and we need to change it to a percentage. So it's going to move move the decimal 2 places over to the left when I push the percentage button, which we did. Now I click enter. That's the gain because it wasn't a loss. So we don't need to negate it. So the profit, the return on investment, the ROI is $34.38. And now you add your investment capital back to it, the principal, and the $150 would have grown to $184.38 from the previous closing price to today's closing price, which we just focused on the percentage change instead of the dollar amount. So the previous close for ticker URI, United Rentals Incorporated, the previous close on Wednesday, so the close on Wednesday yesterday was $802.79, and today they closed at $986.78. Let's go over to the Analyze tab, and we can see that URI is in the industrial sector. Let's go over and use the Visualize tool. But first, we need to add them to the watch list. So we go here, go down to Personal, go to Temp, and replace now with URI. Yep. Now we go to Visualize, and it didn't update. So we click on it, it'll reset. There you go. So it's in the industrial sector. Take me off the screen so you can see it. It's in the industrial sector. It's in the trading companies and distributors in industry, and it's in trading companies and distributors sub industries. Sometimes it doubles down when you see the industry. Sometimes it's the same thing. So let's go back over to Analyze. So we looked at the industry, sub industry. Let's go to the company profile. Take me off the screen so you can see it. And we need to put this here. I don't know why that's still showing that. There we go. So the company ServiceNow Incorporated, the website. Wait a minute. Wait. No, we looking at the wrong company, Market Watch. Wait a minute. Glad I caught that. So we go to quotes, go back to the S&P 500. I know the ticker. It's just URI. But let me select it and it'll show up over here. It'll populate. Here we go. United Rentals Incorporated. Ticker URI. We talked about that. So here's their website. The link for the website is down in the description. Let's read a little bit of the description. The details of the company here, not the description for YouTube. So United Rentals Incorporated, through its subsidiaries, operates as an equipment rental company in the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. It operates through 2 segments, general rentals and specialty. All right, let's go to their website. I'm interested to see what their website going on. So hold that. We already have it pulled up on the screen. We need to put me back on the screen, and we can take this label off. And there we go. So we are on their homepage. Let me see if we're zoomed in. We are now. There goes our 150. And for those of you that are tuning in, thank you for sticking with me and tuning in tonight. If you could be so kind and hit that like button and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. So they really clear about what they do. They rent stuff, all right? I like the fact that this is simple. They rent stuff out, guys. And when it comes to some of this stuff like rentals, I have noticed like stuff that's really expensive that you're probably only going to use once or twice. It doesn't make sense for you to buy it. It makes a lot more sense for you to rent some tools that you only going to use once or twice. So that's why rental companies are a good thing. Like you don't need if you only move once or two times in your life, you don't need a rental truck to move. You only need it those few times. So it make more sense for you to rent a rental truck, a moving truck, than for you to purchase one. But like when people do work at their house, they dig up holes in their backyard, like this right here, earth moving equipment and backhoes and things like that. They don't do that stuff all the time, so it makes more sense to rent it. I didn't even know they had a company like this. So this is definitely interesting. I'm glad I'm doing this live stream and this company came up. I know that they do have storage space, publicly traded companies. Like when people purchase storage units, they have companies you can invest in that does that, publicly traded companies that offers that type of service. So you can't see it. I'm looking at the bottom of the screen. Let me take me off for a second. And I'm looking for, it's about us. So I wasn't even blocking it. Let me put me back on the screen. So right here. So about us. So here's our culture, awards and recognition. Here's investors relations, and here's careers. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna click about us and see if it takes us to a whole nother page. Yes, absolutely. Remember, links for the website are down in the description for your convenience. There's a video right here. Our purpose to build a better future. So here's their purpose. That's dope. That's easy to find. Usually it's just one sentence, but that looks like it's 2, 3, 4. And then there's a learn more. So you can click there, a larger rental partner, corporate responsibility report. Strong team, our worksite solutions. I'm browsing over it. So if I'm moving too fast, visit the website at your convenience. All right. So that was about us. Let's go to our culture. A passion for people. Supporting women in construction. Okay. Explore careers. I think I did see something else I wanted to click on. So that's employee community and support. That's interesting. So the employees can come on here and chat. I wanted to look at, what did I see? Awards and recognition. Oh, and it's up there too. So recognized as an industry leader, explore awards and recognition. So here's an example of what I was talking about. Notice how these icons all look the same. That's an example of what I'm talking about. This looks different. But the other company we were just looking at, what was that? Now, ServiceNow. When they showed the awards, it had their actual icons or labels. I like when they do it that way. To me, it stands out better. You don't have to work as hard to read it. It looked exactly the same. So, okay, we looked at our culture, about us, awards and recognition. So let's go to careers. So featured job groups, I want to see the benefits. Let's see if they don't make us sign in like the other one tried to make us do. So about us. So here's some more stuff that I was talking about when you go to the careers. Let's zoom in. And they talk about the purpose, the mission statement, vision, and values and things like that on the career site. Let me get this off. This is in the way. I didn't zoomed in so far. I don't even see what I was looking at. Here it is. So our culture, what we offer and work, this type of stuff right here. But it says about us, so it might take us somewhere else. So I'm not gonna click on that. So let's keep scrolling. I'm looking for benefits. Employees. Okay, got a few videos here. Learn more about our culture. So they had an employee give a quick little interview. Okay, I'm at the bottom of the page. It won't let me scroll any further. And I don't see the investors relations on this page. So let's go. Oh my goodness. No. It then took us somewhere where I can't go back. And it took us to this careers. Let me see. Nope, nothing at the bottom. Not gonna panic. We just gonna click and try to figure this out. Worst case scenario, we just gonna have to open up this website again. About us. Nope. Then it took us to a whole nother website, guys. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close this out and I'm gonna use this to go back to the home page. Bring this over and we just gonna start over. Load this up. We're not even gonna play around. Put that back. Zoom in. No, we don't need to zoom in that far. All right, go back here. Go down to the bottom. Investors relations. Here it is, the bottom right hand corner. Zoom in. Now we're looking for the stock information. Here it is. They trade on the New York Stock Exchange, ticker URI. Here's the stock price. Here's the percentage change. Scroll over the page, see if there's anything I might be missing. New. All right, go back to the top. Now we're going to look for the stock quote and the chart. So here we are, stock quote, stock chart, historical stock quote. So these are some other tools, and it looks like they do pay a dividend. So let's go to stock quote. There's that. Here's the stock chart. I'm attempting to scroll down. There we go. And here are some more tools that they offer on their website. All right, let's go over to Think or Swim. Put the ticker back at the bottom. All right, let's go over to the charts. Ooh-wee. Now, see, the other company we looked at, they gapped down. And here's another pattern that we're looking at, guys. This is around earnings. So did they have earnings today? Yes, they did. So they had earnings today. And I believe when we looked at the other company, they had earnings yesterday, but they gave the announcement after the market closed. So people came in the next day with what they were going to do. And that's why they had the volume kind of delayed. So this one, I haven't read it yet, but my guess is that because of the way this moved, they either announced earnings before the market or during market. So we're about to find that all out right now. So here it is. They gave their earnings call before the market opened. So if I was to change that to Eastern time, they announced their earnings, or their earnings call was at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So the market opens at 9:30 a.m. So people already knew what was going on, and this thing gapped up like crazy. So it looks like it was like in a short-term downtrend. I'm gonna use a different tool this time. Regression channel. I haven't used this tool in a while. So let's see what it do. There we go. All right. So now I know what I'm looking for. Let's try that tool again. Channel. This box is in the way. So I use that tool to draw kind of like a channel. So you can see that for the majority of the time, it was downtrending. It's not a perfect slant, but for the most part, it was trending down. Like this would be in the regression channel a lot tighter. And I'll show you what I mean. If I was to use this for this uptrend over here, you see how it's, oh, of course it would, oh gosh. Anyway, let's try it again. Just try it again. Try to use the regression tool for this one. And I'll go here. So then I'll go up here. All right. You see how the price is more neat? Let me take me off the screen. I'm blocking it. The price over here on the uptrend stays in that channel a lot more neatly. This one is a little wild. It comes out here, it comes out there, but overall it's trending down. I hope you can see that. So after a while of trending down, so if we looking at the time frame, let me look over here. It's easy for me to see. So here's October. This is about mid-October in this area where they had this 52-week high. So the actual date for the 52-week high, let me put the floating data box on. It looks like that date, so 1021.47, that was October 16, 2025. That's when they had their 52-week high. And then since then, it's been on a downtrend. Let me take this floating data box off. It's been on a downtrend, and I used the regression channel to show you what that looks like. They had earnings today. They do pay a dividend. So the last time they paid dividends, it was $1.97 per share. Okay. So now if I'm going to draw support and resistance, I'm going to say that is going to be like a zone. Actually, yeah, I'm going to do a zone. I'm going to do a zone. So first, let me take off these regression channels so we don't have a whole bunch of stuff going on. You're like, man, what the heck is going on? It's too much stuff. And I get it. I understand. So let's remove that. We're going to use this tool to draw a support zone. So I'm a support and resistance zone. I'm going to say this area here is support and resistance. So we can see in this area right here, it tested it, and then it got through it, and then it used it as support, trended up, came down, it tested it, found support there, came back up, tested it again a few days, and came back up. So that's what I'm seeing in my technicals. Now over here, so what was that? That's in March. Yep, in March, fell out. Then it started becoming resistance. It couldn't get through it, right? Then it started trading within that zone. Then it got out of it. They had earnings, and then it gapped up. Now, when it was trading below the 9-day simple moving average, let me zoom in and put me back on the screen. We didn't talk enough about that. Pull this over, put me back on the screen. It's trading below this 9-day simple moving average, this dashed green line, and then it started trading above it. Start trading and trending above it. And then it had the earnings, and then it ended up gapping up above the 200-day simple moving average. So the gap was between this high of $820.49 and based on today's trading session, the low, which was $935. So here is the huge gap of no trading activity and a regular trading session because of what happened with that gap. So as far as technicals, I would say it's already above resistance. So this area would have been a resistance zone. So let me show you what that would have looked like. Like this area right here would have been my technical analysis a resistance zone. So it already gapped up through it. So now we need to look for another area of resistance. And I'm going to say it's going to be this area over here with these previous highs. And I'll just drag it over so we can see. So to me, this is going to be the next area of resistance, that resistance zone that I just drew on the chart. So that's my quick technical analysis on United Rentals. So let's go ahead and get the stock quote, floating data box, and let's talk about it. Let's zoom in. That's really zoomed in. Let's spread this out a little bit more. Here we go. Drag this over. All right, stock quote, here we go. So ticker URI, United Rentals Incorporated, opened at $943.01. They had a high of $993.96. They had a low of $935, and they closed today at $986.78, which was a trading range of $58.96. And when we look at their trading volume, oh, wow. And I'll explain where that oh wow came from. Their trading volume was 1.6 million shares of this stock was traded today. Now, the reason why I said wow is because this is actually significant volume for this in particular stock. This is actually high for this stock. Now, we've seen where the SPY trades 70 something million shares on average. This in particular, now that's the ETF, but this stock trades on average 600,000 shares. Not even 1 million shares on average are traded within a session. And I'm rounding up to give it the 600,000 on average. So we can see on Wednesday, it didn't even reach the average. It was less than the 598,000 it trades on average, because it was 585,000 on Wednesday. And today they did 1.6 million shares traded on earnings. And then when we look the volume rank percentile, now we can break that down even further. Out of the most recent 252 trading days, only one day had higher volume than today. Out of the most recent 252 trading days. And the volume rank percentile is 99.6%. So those are the technicals that I am seeing on United Rentals Incorporated. All right, guys, we did what we needed to do. We can go back here. We can go right here. You already know. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you earned something. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. If you haven't done so already, make sure you check out the whole life insurance link I have down in the description. Now, yesterday, I told you guys that I had an important or a special announcement to make. So this Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, make sure you tune in. I'm doing an interview. I'm being interviewed. We're doing Q&As, tell and share a little bit about my backstory, about how I got into investing, what I've learned over the years, how long I've been doing it, a whole bunch of valuable information you would want to know about somebody watching on YouTube about trading and investing. So we're doing that this Sunday. So what's the date for that? Today is the 24th, 5th, 6th, 27th. So Sunday, no, that's not the 27th. Sunday, April 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're on a live stream for about 2 hours. If it's doing well, we'll do it longer than that. But it's going to be a Q&A/interview of telling my backstory and explaining my YouTube journey and all of that other good stuff. So make sure you tune in. And make sure you tune in weekdays following a market trading session at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Take care and God bless.